Welcome to Burnt Out Perfectionist. My name is Sarah.
My name is Eve.
And today we are going to bring you How Do You Think? A deep dive into our unique thinking patterns.
Guess where my broom went out?
What?
How do you think? Oh. But it's just a beeper.
So in this episode, we will explore the fascinating ways people's brains work. Essentially, I saw a couple TikToks and people are like, I'm on like the utensil talk for the spices, but also where you rate spoons. Are you on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like rating spoons.
Or the who came up with this cutlery, and I'm like, that's the most violent looking cutlery ever.
Have you seen this? Have you seen the fork that doesn't have like prongs? It's just like a bar at the top.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't get it. But I saw a couple of people asking like, oh, like how do you see the days of the month? The days of the month. Let's try that again. How do you see the days of the week? Little individual things. So I compiled a bunch of the questions that I saw and then, used AI to add some more because why not? To fulfill the whole episode.
But prior to that, what was your survive and thrive for the past couple?
Well, it was spring break and it was great. I could hang out with my kid every day.
Boop, boop.
I know. Hockey's ending. We have our final hockey party thing tomorrow. I don't know. I'm excited. And then my kid starts her next sport, which is baseball. So yeah, just kind of like rolling into the things. I feel like it's like all the stress and all the things are coming down. And then it's, compiling everything for taxes because tax season. Okay. And Eve, what was your survive and thrive?
Well, you didn't say you survived. You just said it was.
Mine was taxes.
Oh.
Yeah. Nobody's ever excited about taxes.
I don't mind taxes. I don't super know how sometimes they work, but
That's what I don't like about them is like the ominous of like not knowing. So just let you know, in Canada, I know that anybody who listens like abroad, anywhere outside of North America, our government doesn't actually calculate our taxes, but they kind of do. So basically you just like work with an accountant and other people and you submit your stuff and you hope that everything was right because they have an average number of what they think it is. And if you don't, then they fine the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
That's the best way to define it. So
That is true.
And Eva, what is your survive and thrive?
Other than hanging out with your child, my thrive is I've cleaned the hobby room, rearranged the desk.
Yes.
I also redid the bathroom floor.
Oh yeah, it looks awesome, and I don't trip on things anymore.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then my survive is I flipped my nail back. I literally broke my nail in the center of my right index finger, and it's like purple and black, and it's like really annoying because it's the main finger that I use, and so every time I touch something, it's just a little sensitive.
I did that like a month or a month and a half ago. That's why this one nail is so short, because when you bend it and then it kind of gets like weak there, and it was also bleeding and stuff, and then it grew out, and I was like, I'm just gonna cut it all the way down because every time, and it's like the finger on my right hand that I used to like take shit out of your wallet, and every single time I was like, worst.
Yeah, it's the worst. So it's still healing.
Ugh. Ouch.
Just really annoying because I just had a shower, so all my nails are like super clean, and then that one nail just looks dirty.
Yeah, but it's not dirty. It's injured.
It's blood. Blood. My brain is just slowly waking up.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to read and like I'm Kate to Apple. Can we make a notes thing where I can change the background to like a pretty color? Because sometimes I feel like the black and white contrast is just a bit too much.
I know, and I have my phone in dark mode, so it's like, it's just, I know, I almost want gray mode. Oh, what was that one that somebody else was talking about? You put your phone in grayscale, and apparently it makes your phone less like alluring to look at because it makes it boring.
I've seen people also make it like,
who said she did that, to be totally honest.
I think I've also seen like the weird thing where people like change it to a color.
I know, where you change like that, because you can like mess around with the settings and the saturation because they don't actually have one for people who are colorblind. So there's a lot of them who will like adjust it and change it because there's like different levels of being colorblind.
Well, there's different types of colorblindness.
That's what I meant, like
different levels.
What?
So we actually got stemmed from this too, from the topic of like how brains work, because Sarah asked me a few days ago about, and her child, about how you see the days of the week.
Yeah.
Which it's like either numbers or colors, which I know I've also seen people like, I saw the Pop Flex lady, Casey.
Yes.
She was like, I don't see the year as like January through December. I see it. I think she thought it was like a circle or an oval.
There's something like it. Like I can always like I'll repost her video or whatever, but there's so many different ways that you can see it. The way that she saw it, I think it was like a circle, like a clock face.
I think it was an oval, and then it was like January, February. I don't know. I can't remember.
But there's other people who see things and it's like mentally, like, when do you feel that your year actually starts? So a lot of people are like, oh, spring, because it's like spring cleaning, you're getting everything out. Some people are like, what the hell are you guys talking about? It's January 1st. Other people feel like it's September because that's when things run. But that's like how you group things together. And it was really funny because I was at one of those parent support groups and we were talking about how we wanted to have these two different, like, larger fundraisers, but we didn't want them to be in the same school. Somebody said the same year or whatever. And our principal goes, oh, don't worry, they won't be in the same year because like one is in May and the other one is in October.
This isn't school year.
And I laughed and I was like, 100%. They will be in the same calendar year, but not the same school year. And she burst out laughing. She's like, you guys all know my life runs from September to the end of June. And then it's like gearing down from being like making sure everything is clean and everything's done. And then I come about mid-August to like ramp everything up. And I don't know what happens in those months in between. Like she was just like, that is her year separation is July 1st. That's when her like year begins again in her mind.
What confuses me is who decided that it was like December 31st? Because that's the middle of winter.
Oh, I know. We talked about this. That's when they changed it from the spring equinox, and that was Caesar, which I don't know why we don't go back. It's the same thing of like, why do we still have daylight savings? Who was day and how much are we saving?
Oh my God. Daylight saving. What a pain in my ass.
It's so ridiculous. So we will start with, do numbers have personalities, colors, or emotions to you, Eve?
I want to say they have personalities.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Like, some of them I feel like have colors. Some numbers I just don't like.
I know there's like certain numbers that I don't like either.
Like, you don't like 3?
I don't like 3.
I don't like 4.
And it's really funny. I feel like a lot of the numbers that I like are actually even numbers, except for the number 7. Because it shows up a lot in my life.
You know what's really weird, though, is like most people who are born on odd days, they usually like uneven numbers.
I know, which is funny. I really thrive for even numbers, always. Like, I was just adding up the tubing passes for the hockey end of the year thing, and it came to 41, and I was like, I swear it's 42. And it was like when I booked the thing, I added one more seat for the lunch because I was like, it was ending in a 1.
Did you count yourself?
Yes. Well, I put myself down. No, that's a super common thing that I do is I forget to count myself.
If I'm going based on colors, like 2 is yellow, 4 is like weird green, 5 is blue, 6 is red, 8 is purple. But like certain ones I do, and other ones I'm like, eh.
Okay, so for me, basically odd numbers are white and even numbers are blue. Always in my head.
Odd numbers are white?
Yeah.
Really?
These are boring. Except for number 7. Number 7 is green. I don't know why. I would love to get like somebody who would like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Do you see math problems visually, like shapes or movements, or like how do you see, like when someone gives you a math equation, how do you see it?
So it depends on the math question. So I have a little whiteboard in my brain that I can just like write it out and I can figure it out. Most of the time I just know. Like I don't go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like 4.
Yeah.
Like my brain just immediately jumps to that. Or I do it in groups. Like if I do like likewise multiplication, so if it's like 16 times 4, I'm like 10 times 4 is 40, 6 times 4 is 24. 64.
Which I like just learned so many new ways to do math because of my kid doing it. And I was like, wow, instead of memorizing things, I probably would have like done this a lot better. I don't know what it is, but when there's any equation that goes over 12, I immediately start sweating. And I'm like, I need to write this down. It's anything, because anything times 11 is just the double version of it. So it's like, that's like less stressful. I don't know what, anything over 12, I like freak out. I'm like, oh my goodness, let me write this down. It's my immediate reaction.
Well, like 10s though you're okay with, because like 20 times 4.
That's different. Like, so anything that's like ends in a
So
0.
like 13 to 19, you're like, no.
No. I'm like, what? Like, my brain is like blank. But the other ones I can like do it in my head. That's why I've been like paying almost extra attention to like the couple different ways that like my daughter's been taught stuff, to see if there's maybe a way to like not break out in a sweat when I'm trying to figure something out. My immediate reaction when I'm doing a calculation is to like go to Google Sheets and like add all the shit in to make sure that I'm doing it right, or to like get a piece of paper and write it down.
So for those types of people, I math tutored.
Yeah.
If we're not surprised. So for people who have this, I had a student a while back who had this issue. What you do is if it's anything, say it's like 6 times 14, you do 12 times 6, which is 84.
That's my danger zone.
That's your danger zone? Okay. What's 6 times 11?
It's 6 times 11 is 66.
Okay. So 6 times 12, 72.
Okay.
So if I'm doing 6 times 14, I know 6 times 11, 66.
Yeah.
I need 3 more 6s. So 6 times 3 is 18.
Yeah.
66 plus 18. 74. 84.
Yeah. See, boop. My brain goes, do you actually know what she's saying? Is what my brain just did.
But that's where my brain works, because I usually have to figure out other ways to do it.
Which is hilarious, though, because like how it's talking about like shapes and movement. So calculations will freak me the fuck right out. But if I want closet organization, or if I want to figure out how to organize something, I got that shit calculated in centimeters and inches. And I'm like timesing everything, and I have everything written out. And then I'll go on and look at like, you know, the dimensions of the piece of wood that I need. And then be like, actually, I'm going to get this longer one because it works to be cheaper, but we'll get them to cut it. And my husband goes, and you freak out about doing math, but the amount of fucking shit you just did that was all math related. And I'm always like, oh, can you double check it? He's like, I'm at the point where I just like don't double check it because it's always right. And I just look at it and like rub my face a couple times and go, yeah, it's good. So, like, I feel like if it's more, like, applied and I see a purpose for it, but, like, if somebody just looks at me and goes, oh, my God, well, what's 12 times 4? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, my immediate reaction, I don't know.
I think because it's also practical math, which I find really, like, the amount of times, it's usually Michael's, that, like, if Michael's has a percentage deal,
yeah,
Sarah will walk up to me and be like, okay, this is 40% off. I'm like, so what's the price?
Because 95% of the time my phone is dead.
And I'm like, what's the price? And she's like, okay, it's 40% off and it's 20. And I'm like, it's $19.99. I'm like, it's 20. So if you do 2 times 0 times 4.0 is $8 off, so it's $12.
Yeah, and then I lost you partway through and I go, cool, thank you.
I know, but like that's my brain could do that. Practical math, done.
Yeah.
Anything else? Nah, I'm bored.
How do you store numbers, like phone numbers or addresses, in your brain? How do you remember that shit?
I don't know.
You're like, I've lived in the same house, like, for a large portion of my life.
No, but like different numbers and stuff. I don't know. It just stays in my brain.
I do a lot of things, and I think this is because I was a kid who had to, like, actually physically memorize numbers. Like, phone numbers, I break everything up, even though I don't like odd numbers, in groups of 3. In groups of 3 to 4.
See, I don't like contacts.
Yeah.
I know people's phone numbers without needing to, like, I think I also sync them in my brain.
Sometimes I do. Or, like, I have, like, weird, like, association numbers with certain things.
But I also find that a majority of, like, certain numbers follow me. So then, like, I always have to.
23. Do you realize how many 23s are in blended?
Yeah.
So many.
Connected in
together. Oh, that movie is so funny.
But, like, the amount of times that I'll look up and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the number that I need to remember. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
There's so many times where I, like, if I look at a number that's over 4 digits, like, you know, when you get those stupid passcodes, like, you know, 2-factor authentication, where you basically are like, I want to do this one simple task, but I have to verify 4 different things, you know, give you a sample of my blood, do a handstand, type in 14 different numbers to verify everything else. As soon as it goes past 4, I'm like, oh my God, what is it? And I go back and forth a bunch of times. But if I see it's 8 numbers, I put it into 2 groups. And then my brain's like, oh, okay.
But if it's an important number, like, I remember it easily. If it's not an important number, like, if it's like a one-time,
yeah,
I need to type this password.
But I'm talking about like whipping back and forth between screens. So I do it all the time where I'm like hovering between two screens, typing the thing in.
Oh, I usually just grab a piece of paper. I don't know. I just like most numbers that I need to remember, I just know. I don't know where it's stored.
Do you struggle to remember numbers unless they form a pattern?
No.
No. Me, it's clearly like what I just said. It's the pattern. Again, I'm just going through a bunch of freaking all the questions. Do you randomly recall vivid past conversations but forget what you just said? All the time. My long-term memory is a lot better than my short-term memory.
I don't think
in most cases. But I will pull something randomly out where I'm like, oh, that's blah, 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 blah. My husband's like, how the hell do you remember that? And then he'll look at me and be like, oh, yeah, that's blah, 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 blah. Like, that's down here. I did that the last time I did like a spring overhaul of the laundry room or something. And he's like, babe, it's been a year. Like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And immediately like offended, I'm like, yeah, I know. And he goes, did you eat today? Like, I don't know. Like,
but also I feel like that's the difference between monotonous tasks and like if that was an important task and you were excited about it, like when you're reorganizing your laundry room, you get it. Like it's not something you do on your regular day-to-day.
Yeah, it's
like eating is a monotonous task because like you can ask anybody, what did you eat for breakfast? And 9 times out of 10, I only remember that I had a delicious latte, and that was because I spent time making it.
Yeah.
But I don't usually spend time making my coffee. But like other tasks that would be like very generic, like when's the last time you went to the grocery store? It's like sometime this week.
Or it's like when you have leftovers in the fridge. And if you don't have it written down and say you don't have a meal plan because you're not like one of those people, because I'm not. Like my husband looked at me last night. He's like, hey, we still have some taco meat in the fridge. He's like, when did you make that? I'm like, I think it was Tuesday. And he's like, okay. And for reference, it was Thursday. Like, and he was asking me and he goes, oh, okay. Well, I already put chicken bites in the air fryer, so I'm going to eat those, is what he said. And I was like, oh, so you want to give me the expired taco meat? Is it expired or is it not expired? I don't know how old it is. And he's like, maybe we should just not eat it and find out.
So I purchased a roll of dissolvable food labels.
Oh my God, a girl that I watch on YouTube uses them.
I bought them like months ago. We don't have a ton of leftovers because
you guys usually just like
wash it for lunch.
Yeah.
So that's what I have because sometimes I remember, but also if you eat very familiar foods every day.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, oh, I ate a steak dinner this day and then I had homemade sushi the next day. Like you probably remember.
Yeah. Like days where you put almost like extra effort or it was like something out of the norm. But like, let's be honest, like tacos, spaghetti, and some form of chicken and some form of potato is generally like a thing for like my family. So it's like, what did I make it? Like usually I try to associate it with like funny things like Taco Tuesday or something like that. So that way I remember. But the dissolvable food labels, I've been thinking about getting them. I probably should.
They're pretty great.
I used to write them with the dry erase markers, which I thought was such a great idea. But then half of it rubs off. And it's always where the person puts their thumb and then I lose the whole date.
Projector markers, I feel like would be better.
Oh, do they still make those?
They have to.
Really? Overhead projector markers?
They're still around.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know if people still use them. I remember a girl's like, oh my God, I found this at Value Village. It was like during the pandemic. And she's like, and I use it for tracing. It's the best thing ever. And I was like, how old is this girl? Because I feel so old. She's like, it was this great projector. I don't know what it was originally used for. And she's like, so weird. It has this school sticker on the bottom. And I was like, that's how we used to take notes. Like,
I took notes like that.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Not that old.
Nope.
But in the mix of like memory wise, I think it's definitely, it depends on like the task. So like the laundry room. Yeah. If you remember, like if you asked me today where a specific item was in this room, I'd be able to tell because I don't clean the hobby room every day.
No.
But because You don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think like that is also like a spark. It's like a landmark in your brain that's like, oh, I remember this. How does remember this?
Yeah.
Languages.
Ooh. Languages and words.
Do you see words when you think?
Yes.
Did you know that people don't, like, not everybody sees things in their head? It's just blank?
Oh, yeah. I was so confused when someone said that. And it was like, when I was like, oh, 1 sec, I need to remember where that is. And I like closed my eyes and I was like going through like the picture book or like rewinding a video in my brain. And someone goes, what are you doing right now? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like thinking back. They're like, what do you mean thinking back? And my one friend, when she has to think of something like that, she literally envisions like that scene from Bruce Almighty, where you go over to the filing cabinet and you like whip it open and it just goes forever. And then she's like going through the files. And for me, it's usually like most of the time, I say 90% of the time, it's me rewinding a video in my brain. And sometimes I'll say the stuff out loud. Okay, so we did this and then we did this. And then, I'm like going backwards through the video. I'm like, okay, then it's probably here. And my husband just looks at me and he goes, how did you just do that? And I was like, and our daughter will go downstairs, yeah, it's right here, just like mom said. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, did you just relive the whole day? And I was like, no, not the whole day, just the portion that I needed. And he just looked at me like, okay, cool. Not like I was crazy, like, oh, that's super interesting.
I think I have a partial photographic memory. Because usually I get text messages of like, where did you hide this? Oh my gosh, it's my favorite game. So Sarah will text me. If I haven't been at our house for like 6 months, a year, like I don't go to our house all the time. If she messaged me and says, hey, when you were last here, do you know what bag this item was in?
Because you were here the last time. Like when I rewound my brain, I saw you touching this bag the last time.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, I put it in your linen closet in the back bin. And you're like, and we're not there.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is it's not like they're driving down. Like one lives an hour and a half away and the other one lives like, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes on a bad day. Yeah. But yeah, when someone spells a word, do you visualize it or hear it?
You have to hear it in order to. I'm half deaf, so like I gotta visualize it.
So some people, what I saw is like some people, if you're like spell the word part, they'll hear part and then hear like spelling, like PART type of thing. Charlie will give me a word and be like, Mom, how do you spell directory? And in my, or so there, for example. So if she, like this was yesterday, she goes, Mom, how do you spell there? And in my brain, it pulled up all the versions of there. And I was like, which one? And she was like, I can't remember right now. And I was like, okay, can you tell me the sentence? She's like, yeah. So then the sentence goes across in my brain. And this happens like fast. Like I'm not just like standing there staring off into nowhere. Sometimes though, sometimes if she asks me too early, I do stare off into nowhere. But she was like, oh, like, you're going to blank or whatever. And I was like, oh, you're going to blank. And then my brain goes, does you are fit there? Okay, you are going to blank. Okay, perfect. So it's that you're. And then I said it out loud yesterday and I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, so you can put you are there instead. So it would be your. So YOUR apostrophe R. I mean, YOU''R. And she goes, okay, what did you just say? And I was like, what do you mean? I just spelled the word out loud. She's like, what'd you say before that? I was like, I didn't say anything before that. She's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, well, when you give me the sentence, that's how I figured it out. And she goes, I can use that trick now. And she was writing sentences upstairs. And she goes, okay, 1 sec. Oh, I have to spell your, or they are was the other one. And then she goes, oh, but can I put, which there? Oh, so before it was what your, I realized I just said there. And the second time it was there. But she used it for the same thing. She's like, oh, they are. So it must be that there where it's THEY. That's RE. And goes along and she goes, how did you learn that? I was like, my grade 2 teacher. I remember her saying that and it like stuck in my brain forever. But yeah, I don't know. That was like a funny thing that happened yesterday. And I was like, oh, I wonder when we record this episode if I will actually remember that. It's 11:11. Make a wish.
It's 11:12. That minute's behind.
Oh,
well, sorry.
That was anticlimactic. Do you want to ask the next one?
Do Do certain words have colors, textures, or motions for you?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Moist.
Smooth. I just think of like Eve's face. So skin.
I just think of a snake.
Yeah. Or like slimy. When I think of slimy, I'm like, slimy. Or no, my sticky. I just think of my socks sticking to the ground. My husband spilled the pink lemonade out of the fridge. Actually, he stated that the juice jar yeeted itself out of the fridge.
I like most words I'm like here, and I'm like, okay. Like I like the word bungee.
How
I just like how it feels.
I know there's certain words that just like tickle my brain. Oh my, one I was fascinated with. Ginkgo biloba.
Ginkgo biloba.
And I was literally like, I'd heard it for the first time because I was watching like it was a YouTube video because there's no TikTok at this time. And I was just like, ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo. And I just walk around randomly saying certain words that tickle my brain.
See, I don't see them as words. Like, I don't feel like certain words have colors or like textures and stuff. I read them in like accents.
Oh, I randomly use accents all the time. Or I'm the worst for like picking up an accent when I'm talking to somebody who has an accent.
Yeah. But then you have to slowly like either try to get out of it or you're like, I'm just gonna keep backing away. And then they're like, oh my God, you're from LA? And you're like, yeah.
And it's like, shit.
I'm not.
Or like when you're comping like a British accent or something. Because you're like, oh, this is fascinating. I want to figure out how to do this. And out of nowhere, you're talking and you're like, their accent's so cool. And then you start repeating it back and you're like, I think I'm starting to become offensive. Maybe it's just stop.
The main word that I usually like, I will always say anything, is light bulb. So Steve Carell, whenever he did Gross Voice, he would say light bulb. But you have to add light bulb.
Light bulb.
And then you're bucking like, yes.
That's why I'm always like, vodka.
You say vodka, it's a light bulb.
Light bulb. Do you best learn seeing, hearing, doing, or explaining, or any of like a combination of those? At least you have the list in front of you, because I feel like I lost you after one of them.
I feel like seeing and doing are kind of seeing. I get annoyed because I'm like I could just do it. Hearing works half the time. Doing I think more. Explaining, I get bored.
Yeah, when someone explains something, I'm super bored. Or it's like if I explain it to somebody else, so like I put these into different categories. So like when I'm trying to figure something else out, I've learned that like when I'm trying to read it, it isn't going to happen. So if I watch somebody do it, I'll be like, okay. And then I'll listen while I'm attempting to do the thing. So that way I like already kind of know where it ends up, because sometimes I'm like, I just want to finish this, whoop, and I do something else. And then I can figure out like the flaws in my process and figure out how to like better do the process if I'm explaining it to somebody else versus, because a lot of people will be like, why do you do it this way? And I'm like, I do it this way because blah, 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 blah. And some of them are like, oh, if you do this, you can actually skip a step. Even I do that a lot. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay. So I feel like I utilize them all in different ways. But yeah, like I have like my own little process, especially if I know like what level of paying attention I'm at. I'm like, uh-oh.
I think it's also like my way of thinking is, say if I'm making like a recipe, if I'm baking something, the first time I do it, I follow the recipe to a T.
Oh, I do the same thing. Yeah.
And then the next time, let's be honest, I don't really follow recipes anymore.
Yeah.
I just kind of throw it in and magic happens.
Sometimes you just go on your own adventure. Or you're like, I've made this so many times that like I can make chocolate chip cookies without looking at a recipe. And my husband's like, you literally look like you're like, and a little bit of this and a little bit like oh my God, he told me I look like the chef from The Little Mermaid. I was like, so rude, first off. Like,
oh, I went for waitress.
Oh, yeah.
Sugar, butter, flour. That's where my brain goes. Well, like most of the time, if I know like a basic vanilla cake recipe, and then I think a couple of years ago I made like Earl Grey and raspberry icing, and I was like, that seems fun. I didn't look at how to make things flavored. I was just like, I'm just gonna make some Earl Grey tea, and I'm just gonna soak it in. It's gonna be great. Simple syrup, throw some sugar in there.
I know there's sometimes where I'm like, wow, that process seems really complicated. I'm gonna try doing it this way, and if it doesn't work, then I'll follow the complicated way. And most often, I'm like, my way was totally fine. I'm okay with the results that came out as. do you replay conversations in your head after they happen?
Sometimes.
It depends on the level that my brain is at for that day. But I will randomly think of stuff like, oh, did I do? But sometimes it's because I'm trying to figure out if I had anything that was like assigned to me or anything that I said that I would do to make sure that I'm not like that it's on like a list written down that I have. Other than that, like I don't really rethink a lot of conversations unless like someone was extremely manipulative in that conversation. And then I'm almost trying to like decode it after. That's probably the only time. And I don't have a lot of people like that in my life anymore that I have to do that for. Actually, in fact, I think I have none.
I don't, like, I used to a lot, but now not really. Like, if it happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I like, if I replay it, sometimes I'm like, I'm like, oh, I said the wrong word. What word was I probably thinking of? And the Holy Spirit will be like, I meant this word. I didn't mean that word.
Yeah.
Can you listen to music while working, or does it take over your focus?
If I'm doing something like data entry, I can listen to music and just like plug away at the numbers. If I'm writing a blog post, for example, or writing down instructions on how to do something that's new to me, then no. Then I need like complete silence or like some sort of like lo-fi shit going on. Something with no words, because I will just start singing the song and then be like, oh, shit, what was I doing? Or I will actually physically type some of the lyrics. I've done that before. Oh, fuck.
When I was in school, I would have my iPad with one show playing.
Oh, yeah.
My phone had a song on, and my computer had a lecture. So I had like 4 things going on at the same time. So if I was watching Friends, and then I was listening to music, and then I was doing something else, I can have like media playing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't handle when people ask me a million questions if I'm doing something.
Oh my God, neither could I. Which is really hard when I'm just going to say this, and I'm not saying it because of this, feel bad for me, because I'm a mom, and because also like I love my husband, but he'll ask me a lot of questions. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, I love you guys, but I am doing this right now, and this is all that I'm able to comprehend right now. And then I will answer your questions after. Please text them to me or just wait.
Usually, if I need something so if you're unaware, Sarah's working hours.
I know.
Hours from the time period of approximately 9:58.
Oh, you mean
to
like
3 in the morning?
Okay, so she's talking about like when my brain wakes up and I suddenly decide to be the most productive bitch on the face of the planet. It is 9:30 p.m. to sometimes 3 in the morning.
Preface: I go to bed at 10:30.
Yes,
maybe 11 sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm later now, but my work time's probably from around like after dinner to like 10. There's a 2-minute window that we share. Sometimes, like, if we're both here, like, we're very productive and stuff. But if I need, like, a password to something, I just FaceTime her. And usually it's my kids in the back going, Mom, I'm like, so sorry, honey. This is now podcasting time. Auntie has a question. And then she's good.
Yeah.
Same with her husband. This woman will text me in the middle. Wait. Eve, do you have this code? I'm like, okay, perfect. I will send the code. I need this code that I just sent you. Wait, I'm trying to work on the other code. I sent it again. The time ran out. Oh, what are you doing right now? I'm trying to pee. But I need it now. Okay, Sarah. I am on the toilet. The more you interrupt me, the slower my pee is going to happen. And then I'll be like, okay, I sent it over. Nothing. No confirmation. An hour later. Did you send me the code? Sometimes I almost send, like, as per my last text message. Write it.
You know, my favorite is when you can go back and like the message. So that way there's like a reaction. It pulls me back. I'm like, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. I was either distracted or so into something else that I was doing. And then I was annoyed because my flow was ruined.
Yeah, but like, I'll be like, if I'm listening, I'll listen to music. If I should do a bunch of things, I can multitask. Someone does that. I'm like, I will send it. And I'm like, did you get it? Hello? An hour later, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
Send me the code. I'm like, I was aware. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not getting up. You can get it tomorrow.
Yeah. There is some, like, when I'm editing the podcast, sometimes I'll do Legos, sometimes I'll color. Other times I will make, like, the thumbnail and I'll do all the things at the same time. But sometimes I'm like, girl, you just need to sit and do the recording, because I'll get distracted and then I'll be like, oh my God, I coughed like 4 times. Oh, fuck, you gotta go back and take all those out or something like that. Especially if it's like really loud. I mean, here and there I'll leave some in because we are human beings. But yeah, it always depends on like what brain capacity I'm at for that day.
So a lot of these too result in the devices that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw, like, Sarah and I have talked about this before, about there's like certain things, like there's certain almost like price limits. If I'm making a big purchase, it's on the desktop. If I'm making an average size purchase, it's on the laptop. If it's like a small purchase that I just need for like a small item, like my camera lens protector broke, phone's perfectly fine. I cannot make a big girl purchase on the phone.
I can't either. I feel like I have to, like, because it's like a large purchase. So for me, a large purchase is anything over $200.
Yes.
So I'll be like, okay, well, I better make sure that, I've hitched the right thing. I have all the right details, because this isn't like a low cost thing. Like, I want to make sure I did this right. I want to cross reference pricing. I want to have multiple tabs open. I want to double check all the stores. I want to do all the things because I'm making this extremely large purchase. And then sometimes I think about it so much and do so many of the things that I have to take a mental break, sometimes for a whole day, before I actually hit purchase, or I have to like find other justifications in order to figure it out.
Mine will be like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I forget that I wanted to purchase it, and then I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Oh, my husband's favorite is like when I'll be watching TikTok and someone will talk about something super cute that they got on Amazon, and I'll look it up on Canadian Amazon, which is a whole other beast on its own. And I'll be like, well, that's cute, but I'll hit save later because maybe I'll just like put it in that random list of things later at the end of the year. And then sometimes I go through my like save for later section and I'm like, what the fuck is that for? I'm like, that is stupid. I'm so glad I didn't buy that. Or he'll go in because they have that spring sale and a bunch of people are listing stuff off. And I was like thinking about different things. Or it was like my reminder to check to see like there's these really good duvet covers that are on sale and they're half price. And they have like ridiculous reviews. And I've looked at them before. Another person that we both follow on TikTok was talking about them. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then I went home and I pulled it on my bedding and I was like, sure, some of them are trash, but I still have 2 and they're perfectly fine. Like, I don't need any more. I have enough to like wash. I have like 2 or 3. I was like, I'm totally fine. And I just hit save later. So that way, if there's something I need to like add in, if someone's like, I really want to, like, my mother-in-law likes to physically purchase presents if she can instead of giving us money. And because she lives in a different area. So I will like add that to like my list. And then she can go in there and like pick something like that later. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. And even when I do like those like Christmas lists or gift lists or whatever on Amazon, I prefer to do them on the computer because I also found if I save the shit on my phone and say you want multiple colors of the same thing, like a cheap like eyeshadow stick from NYX or something, it will literally just put the same fucking one on there like 8 times. Or the Crocs that you bought me for Christmas. I put them on there and I used my phone originally. But I wrote a note saying like make sure you get size 11, and it has a default size that it goes to. And so when she had purchased, it went to the default size.
Oh.
And so she ended up sending me not 1 but 2, but I think at one point it was like 3 pairs of size 8, which I didn't know until after Christmas. My husband kept getting these packages and then calling his mom, and I could hear him downstairs being like, these will like literally fit our daughter in a year and she doesn't wear pink. So like, I'm really sorry. Like, they're still the wrong size. And then he was like, I might have to call your sister to ask her to buy something because like my mom is severely struggling. So he like literally FaceTimed his mom and she was showing, she's like, I clicked on the thing. That's usually what I do is I click on the thing. And he goes, oh, for some weird reason, it's defaulting. And she showed him. She's like, okay, because she felt dumb. And then he was annoyed. It was like a whole thing. But yeah.
But I also, like, so for, like, holiday shopping, I try to shop in, like, bulk, but I shop throughout the year. So I always have like notes apps or Google Docs open that have a list of specific presents that I'm buying each person or things that I have to do for them. So then I can kind of like keep track of stuff. So that's the usual reason why I do like desktop-ish.
I know it's like if I need to be in a certain like mental state, like I don't know, when I'm like, I feel like a productive bitch. I gotta check all this shit off my list. I'm gonna do all these things. Like I wouldn't just sit with my iPad in like a comfy place and do something. I'm like, no, like you need to be serious and make sure you're paying attention to details. And there's no comfort needed in this. Like, go sit at the desk.
There's also like that's good though, because like I saw that there's a lot of like studies done of like if you work in your bed.
Yeah.
And then you can't sleep properly because you're working in your bed, so your brain thinks that it's like being active.
Yeah.
So like having those spaces is healthy because then you separate them.
That's why I try to have those like designated areas or designated things to like do stuff. And like even I have talked about this before, and then we've seen nothing but like TikToks and other things after that about or even YouTube videos about people who are going back to singular devices for things.
I called this last year.
I know you did. It's on the bingo card, so we're definitely checking that off. But it was like,
we should do an update on that.
I definitely have to do an update because there's so many of them that have happened. Like we were like clairvoyant or something.
We were very like, I have a vibe.
I have this vibe. I have a feeling.
Which, beginning of this year, do you remember how one of us said that Kelly Clarkson was going to start a new business adventure?
Yes.
She started a music label.
She started a music, like a record label, but it was specifically so she could just release her music because with legal standards, you have to have a label. And then it got out in the news, and then all these people were sending her demos, and she's like, yo, like, no. Like, I already have my hands in so many different pots, and like, I share custody of my kids with my ex-husband, and she was just like, oh my God. She was on Kylie Kelsey's podcast. It was so great. I love Kylie Kelsey.
Which she was the top podcast, which was also on the makeup
on the list. Like, she literally went from like non-existing to like kicking Joe Rogan and Dax Shepard out of their spots.
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Which, like, I remember when we filmed it, recorded it, filmed it, same thing.
Yeah.
And we were both like, well, I don't think any of this will happen, but like, it'd be so funny if it did.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, we said like natural disasters or something like that, and then there was the fires.
Oh yeah, that was so bad. I didn't want it to happen.
No.
Which is so funny because like Lore DIY was like, I think there's gonna be something crazy that like hits LA, like a really bad earthquake or whatever. And Jeremy's like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, I love you. Why would you do that? And then literally it was like a week or two after they filmed that podcast, they had the fires and there was an earthquake.
Yes.
And Laura's like, I didn't want to be right. Jeremy's like, you brought this on the world, which I do that with my husband. My husband's like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't get all this snow, or I can't believe we didn't get this, because for some weird reason, he still thinks that the weather forecasters know what they're doing and they're just educated guessers, in my personal opinion. And he is like, whatever. I'm like, don't you chance the universe and Mother Nature. And like literally so many times he said it. And then we woke up one random Saturday, there was like fucking 2 feet of snow outside. I'm like, I told you not to say anything.
You released it?
You put this on us.
Maybe next episode we'll go through like all the things that have been checked off.
I know. That could be good. We could do a bingo card update. Okay. Note that down, please, editing Sarah. And then make a podcast outline. Thank you so much. Do you make decisions impulsively or overthink endlessly?
Depends on the decision.
100% think I'm 50-50 on that.
Depends on the weight of the situation. So if it was like, if it resulted in like other people being affected,
yes,
then I will think about it more. If it's like, do you want chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Oh, then I'm pretty like quick to go on that. When it comes to like food and stuff, I'm pretty quick. Unless I'm starving, then I'll like look at my husband and be like, "Can you see anything that's dairy free that you know that I'll eat? I need you to pick for me. I can't even read it right now."
No, that's different though, because that's different situations. But yeah,
mine is like if it's like a high cost, type of thing. But if it's like, especially if it's like something like little, like if you're at the dollar store, I'm like, I'll get that $1.25. I'll get this, because it's not like a high impact thing. But when it comes to like purchasing technology, I drive Eve mentally insane. She's like, you already have this. You want to get the newer version of this. We've decided this is what you want. You've looked at all the stats. Like, can you just fucking buy it, please? And I'm like,
well, usually
okay.
I've provided the information of the differences between the two. And I'm like, can you? So I'm a youngin'. I can purchase things.
Oh, which I do all the time. Like when I was single into my 20s, I fucking bought every single thing that I wanted without even like thinking about it.
I buy a new piece of tech or a new
I like a
household
fresh
appliance.
Oh yeah, you love a household appliance.
I do. So for instance, a couple weeks ago, I purchased a slushy machine with our mom. I looked at Sarah and I said, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna purchase it, and if your husband finds out, he's gonna want a slushy machine.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt.
Because he also is a hoe for a home appliance.
No, it doesn't even matter, like, whatever, anything that I purchase. He'll be like, how much is it?
Yeah.
So I've learned, I sent Sarah the link. I did not send him the link. I sent her the link.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, walk out, put the slushy in front of him. Oh my God. You bought a slushy machine? What is this? How much does this cost? I'm like, yep.
Oh, his immediate reaction was, did you buy this specific brand of slushy machine?
Yeah.
And he was like, I thought about it, but I actually bought this one because I was reading reviews. This one's been around, and I'm not going to lie, I like the aesthetics of this one better.
It comes in white.
Yeah, I know.
So I purchased the Aspen slushy machine off of Amazon. It was during the sale, so I got it for less than, I think I got it for $2.75. It has different options you can hit custom to and make it
Came
big.
in like 3 days, I feel like.
It did come in 3 days. It takes approximately like 20 minutes to do it. It's not that loud. It's extremely easy to clean.
It's not that loud. It's so easy to clean. Like the amount of parts that you have to clean is like 2 or 3.
And it has the same texture as a 7-Eleven slushie.
And that's the whole thing for me is like some things are like slushie makers. And I don't know if it's like a universal brand, but there's like Slush Puppy, which is almost like, I'm aging myself here because I don't think they call them this anymore, but we used to call them Mr. Misties at Dairy Queen. Like it's like still liquid, but has like minor ice chunks. Well, for a while they called them Arctic Rushes. That's why I was wondering.
Arctic freezes.
Yeah, and they went all the way around. But then there's like a Slurpee texture. And then there's slushies, which can be different than Slurpees when it comes to textures. And like the way that the ice is ground and everything. So I was like super interested to see. And she gave me one. I was like, oh yeah. Like I like the like smooth icy texture versus like the little tiny chunky ice.
Yeah, the chunky ice that I have to crunch, it makes my mouth feel
Well, what annoys me is you end up sucking all the flavoring out and then you're left with all these little tiny ice cubes. It's just like, I'm like, oh, or you're like, you have to like wait.
Oh,
you have to wait. You're like, fucking melt. I want more of you.
Seriously, I've made strawberry lemonade. I made Crush a few times, Crush Orange, which raises the question, where is Crush Lime in Canada? Crush Soda, I did contact you. I did not get an answer because I would love to purchase Crush Lime. It is my mom and I's favorite flavor.
Yeah.
And every single time I'm like, oh my God, where is it? I can't find it anywhere.
Crush really pops off on the pop flavors.
Well, like there's Fanta. The other thing that I want to try, they used to have this like blood orange soda at
they have it at Superstore. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was like,
they still have it.
Oh, I just need to go there, but I just don't go.
Oh, can you just text me and then I'll just get it the next time I'm at the store. I'll just get you like a big bullet of it.
I just want fun sodas.
Yeah, I know. I tried to find fun sodas, but my favorite thing is when they just reissue stuff. And like Fanta just came out with strawberry and pineapple, but it was kind of like exciting, but not. Also, we all know that some of them just taste. I know they're alchemicals to begin with, but some of them just take a little bit more fake than the other ones.
Some of them take like the smell of bathroom cleaner.
That is the worst. Do your emotions hit in waves or do they suddenly explode?
That's like a therapist question,
right?
Do you have emotions? No.
No.
I feel like my reactions of things, if you work in healthcare, you understand. My reactions are very like,
very like passive.
Yeah, like it's not that, like I live by the things of I don't care. But, like, it's not that I don't care, like, in a rude way.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm not going to put the emotional energy into this because I don't care.
I feel like I've worked really hard at this for the last, like, couple of years to, like, tone it down. Because sometimes if someone that I knew felt, like, really offended, I would, like, take that on. But someone was like, that's because you're a Libra. And I was like, oh. It's like, I immediately would, like, be like, I'm gonna take your fucking ass down. Like, sometimes I'll joke. If it's really bad, I'll be like, fuck that person, fuck them. You know that TikTok where it's like, you said shit about my little sister behind her back. She may have forgiven you, but I'll never fucking forget. That's me.
See, that doesn't mean that I don't hold grudges. Like,
yeah,
I have a really good memory, so I will literally pull out something from like 15 years ago and be like, you remember that one time?
I know.
And it's like, oh.
You get like that. Or it'll be like, you're around that person. My husband will be like, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. They just gave me, and now it's like an actual term, but it's that a lot of people use it. Like, they just gave me like the ugh feeling. Like, they gave me the ick.
Like that I can usually, like,
and I can't get past
but
the
that's
ick.
like body language difference. But like emotion wise, like, I don't burst out crying.
No.
Firstly.
That's very rare if I do that, and 99% of the time I get my period like 12 hours later. And I'm not shitting on women's and hormones, but I'm just saying that's usually when it winds up for me.
Usually if Sarah cries, it's in a very specific place in the kitchen, between the dog bowl and the fridge, where the potatoes are.
Which I'm like, did I randomly log that as like a solid place to cry? Was like a kitchen after I like stubbed my toe, ripped my nail up, and our dad was like, by the way, when we were on vacation, your cat died. And in my brain, it was like, this is a safe place to cry. I think it's because I'm not in a visual field because of the way that the house is set up. I'm not in, like, no one can look at me and I can, like, have, like, a quick cry and then, like, wipe my face, suck it up, and walk away.
Maybe.
I think.
But also, it's in the middle of the kitchen.
I know. Like, my favorite thing is when Eve walks around the other side and she's like, oh, are you making food? Can I make food in here? And I'll just, like, turn around. She's like, oh, my God, why are you crying right now? Are you okay? And I'm like, I know, I just like thought about something for a minute. And she's like, oh, okay. I'll just leave the kitchen for a minute. Can you tell me when you're done crying?
I feel like also when you have elevated emotions, your immediate reaction is like, I'm gonna go for a walk. Which, like, granted.
Which I feel like is super productive.
No, that's totally,
I'm not running away. I'll be like, I need to, or when I'm so overstimulated and overwhelmed, I'm like, I need to go for a walk right. I need to leave. Where I am, I feel suffocated. Do you hyperfocus on things for hours but struggle to start tasks that don't interest you? All the time.
Depends on the task.
I feel like it's not every task, but sometimes I'm like justifying what task I need to start and what is more worth my time.
Depends on the task. Like, I don't like doing laundry, but I'm not doing laundry. I put it in the washer. The washer does it for me. Exactly. I switch it over. I don't like those certain things. I don't like care. Wiping down the counters, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, like, it depends on the task. And it also depends on, like, what else I've done that day. Like, if I've spent the entire day, like, scrubbing the walls and stuff like that, and then it's like, I just don't want to do the dish.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, I'll do it after. I don't want to. Sometimes it's like, I'm like, oh, okay. Here's my mind space. Oh, I need to make something with my Cricut. Or I want to make these end of the year cards for the teachers. But I need my Cricut. But the floor and my desk are dirty. Okay, well, I'll clean all that stuff up and make sure it's good before I do it. Do I get distracted 18 times while I'm doing that? Yeah. Do I get asked 20 questions? Sure as hell do. And then my kid will be like, I'd love to help you with that. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'd love for you to help me. I turn around and her desk, not to her consent, has been piled with shit. Not my shit. Others, like her stuff, but stuff that doesn't belong on the desk, stuff that belongs downstairs. So then I'll like help her clean it off. She'll either do it or sometimes I'll just do it because I'll feel bad because a bunch of stuff got put on her desk. And then I'll take the other things downstairs right away. Because if I put them in a box, they're just going to live there forever. So I take them downstairs and then I'm like, oh, you know what I haven't done for a long time? I really haven't changed her sheets. I'll put her sheets on and it'll be fine. I'll put the stuff away and then I'll go back upstairs. So that task that could have taken me maybe 20 minutes to clean up in order to do something fun and creative, I have now started so many different other things. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just do it later. And then I like fall asleep on the couch because I've done a million things at once.
So Mom and I chatted about this last night about the Cricut because I have used, like, she purchased it, but, like, I've used it a lot more.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I just don't want to, like, go down. It's, like, a big thing. You got to use the computer. You got to do this, you got to do this.
That's the whole thing for me. It's like cast stacking in your head or something. I don't know.
But the only way that you get faster at doing it is the more you do it.
Well, that's exactly it.
So, like, I will do different things, and then I can whip it out on, like, it took me maybe 30 minutes, an hour to do this stuff last night. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it depends. It also just depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's not even, like, on the basis of, like, I can't do it. It's just, I just don't want to. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to lay there.
That is very true.
Obviously, we're sisters. We're from 2 different generations.
Yeah.
Things change, brains change, and it's always interesting to know, like, the differences between your siblings. Like, if you have siblings, let us know down below. Like, do you guys think a lot alike? Do you not think a lot alike? Twins fascinate me. So if you're a twin,
yeah,
comment, like, do you have twin telepathy? If so, like, let us know.
Yeah.
What if this episode kind of resonated? What did you learn about yourself? Do you think more of an Eve style? Do you think more of a Sarah style?
Or do you have your own style? Because I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways. Like, I knew that there was different ways that people read a calendar, like what we talked about at the beginning, or saw days of the week, because I think it is criminal that some people think that, like, the week starts on a Monday. Like, my brain is like, no, it's Sunday to Saturday.
So you start on a rest and end with a rest.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll let out some polls. If I remember, I'll go in threads. Send out some polls about how you think of the weeks. If you don't think, wow, how you kind of think about them. And then ask your friends. How does your friends kind of think about things? Because so many people have different ways of thinking to get through life.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always fascinating. Not all is documented. You know, a lot of the research is old.
All right, and the fun part is like, instead of just asking your friend, like, oh, how was your week? And you're like, oh, it's good. Or any of these random things, you know, when you're kind of just doing, like, I call it the service talks, where you're just, like, messaging back and forth. Just ask a random question. Oh my God, I saw this thing, or I heard this thing on Burnt Out Perfectionist. This podcast that I listen to weekly on Mondays.
At 6 a.m.
Episodes at 6 a.m. They said they look at the week like this, like, how do you see the week? And some people might be like, what are you smoking? And other people will be like, oh my God, that's so funny. I've never actually, like, this is how I see it. And then it's like, what?
So just kind of look at the community around you. See if they're alike. If alike people come together, we're always interested, because, you know, it's just us talking to 2 microphones. We don't get a response. So if you're hearing this, please respond.
Please like, share, subscribe, do all the things, hit the buttons, do the ratings, and stay as warped and twisted as ever.
We got something new, life's unpredictable, but we're staying true. Through the ups and downs, we'll be here to guide. Come back next week, we'll be right by your side. Burnt out perfectionist, we've got so much to say. Real, raw, and ready to talk today. We'll be back next Monday with more in store. Catch you then, we're all